Hare Krishna Maharaj. His Holiness Giriraja Swami Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for joining. Hare Krishna. So it's 8 o'clock. So thank you, dear devotees, for joining the ISKCON of New Jersey Zoom channel. It gives us great pleasure and it's our distinct privilege and honor to welcome His Holiness Giriraja Swami Maharaj as we kick off this festival of Srila Prabhupada. It's a 3-day festival, and today we'll have some great flow of nectar from His Holiness Giriraja Swami Maharaj. So, of course, you may see this ISKCON Parsippany. What is ISKCON Parsippany? It's this ISKCON of New Jersey known as Towaco Temple, but we are in the process of moving to this brand new temple in Parsippany, which is just now coming in construction. The walls are already rising above the surface, so please keep a lookout of ISKCON of Parsippany, one of the big temples in the northeast of the U.S. His Holiness Giriraja Swami Maharaj, of course, the author of wonderful books, and one of his books that he wrote about Srila Prabhupada. You know, my son, who's 18 years old, he just couldn't put it down without finishing the whole book, and he read it several times. It's so sweet, and he's absorbed in the nectar of Srila Prabhupada, and we owe that debt of gratitude to Giriraja Swami Maharaj. So thank you, Maharaj, for bringing Prabhupada into our lives and the lives of our children. And with that, I pass it on to you so that we may dive into the ocean of nectar of Srila Prabhupada's pastimes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I will sing the Mangalacharna prayers and lead a short kirtan, and then I will speak about Srila Prabhupada's departure pastime. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuddha Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Stham Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadrutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Salita Shri Vishakhanvitam Cha Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Srila Guru Deva. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satyasri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satyasri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining us to remember Srila Prabhupada on his disappearance day. A personal request for the devotees on Zoom, if you can put on your cameras so we can see your moon-like faces. Right. Thank you. So, when we were with Srila Prabhupada in Surat, India, on his Guru Maharaj's disappearance day, he said, on the absolute platform, there's no difference between the appearance and the disappearance of the spiritual master. Both are beautiful, just like the sunrise and the sunset. Of course, on Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day, we do feel separation. But within that separation, our remembrance of Srila Prabhupada is heightened. And thus we can experience the beauty of his presence in separation. A few days before Srila Prabhupada was to leave us, he expressed a desire to travel by bullock cart to different holy places in India. His Holiness Lokanath Swami had been traveling by bullock cart to different places of pilgrimage, and Srila Prabhupada was very enlivened when Lokanath Swami reported to him in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada said that he too would like to go on pilgrimage on a bullock cart. He asked Lokanath Swami to arrange it, and Lokanath Swami was enthusiastic, having been encouraged by Prabhupada in such a direct way. So he immediately went to organize the cart and make all arrangements. Govardhan Puja was to take place in a couple of days, and Prabhupada said that he would begin his pilgrimage by traveling on a bullock cart to Govardhan Hill to celebrate Govardhan Puja with the Brajavasis. At that time, Srila Prabhupada was bedridden and one could say emaciated. He was unable to eat. He was able only to sip a little liquid. He was gaunt and weak, with almost no energy. He would just lie on his bed, and sometimes with great difficulty, he would speak softly, often so faintly that only those very close to him could hear his words. There were many devotees in the room when Srila Prabhupada had his exchange with Lokanath Swami. And immediately after the discussion ended, the devotees went outside and began to express two strong, heartfelt opinions about what Srila Prabhupada should do. And more than that, how we as disciples should relate to him and serve him. One group, which included Lokanath Swami and other esteemed senior disciples, such as Hansaduta Prabhu and Bharadraj Prabhu, felt that we should do just what the spiritual master orders. We shouldn't question his order. We should just execute it. And some of the other disciples, many of whom had been attending to Prabhupada's personal care, felt that Prabhupada's health would not sustain his travels on a bullock cart, and that because he was so emaciated, he had practically no flesh on his bones, it would be very painful for him to go. Even if they padded the cart with a mattress, it would still be a basic bullock cart. And the roads in Vraja were very rough. So the movement of the cart would jostle him, and he would feel pain. Some devotees feared that he might even give up his body on the way. They did not want him to be subjected to what they foresaw as certain pain, and perhaps the most dire consequence of death. But under the circumstances, this second position was difficult to maintain because Srila Prabhupada was so emphatic. Let me travel to all the tirthasthans, he had said, to all the holy places. And whatever objections devotees raised against the proposal, he had countered. One day experiment. Rest assured, I will not die in one day. When even his Kaviraj, Srila Prabhupada had a dream that he was being treated by a Ramanuja Kaviraj, and Adridharan Prabhu in Calcutta had found one who was very good. He was a devotee, and he was an expert Kaviraj. But when even he had predicted that with all the jostling on the bullock cart, Prabhupada would not survive more than 2 hours, Prabhupada had replied, but I think I shall be cured. Still, Tamal Krishna Goswami, Bhakti Charu Swami, Bhakti Srup Damodar Maharaj, Bhavananda Maharaj, and others felt strongly that this experiment would have dire consequences. But how to convince Prabhupada? So the controversy continued. When Srila Prabhupada said, I think I shall be cured, Hansaduta and others took it that he was supporting their position. But the other side took it differently. What does it mean that he is going to be cured? It means he's going to leave his body and get a spiritual body. That's how he's going to get cured. So each party was saying things in a particular way that supported its particular point of view. Finally, things came to the stage where the bullock cart was waiting outside the gates of the Krishna Balaram Mandir. Everything was being readied. And for the devotees who were in the mood that Srila Prabhupada should stay, it was like when the residents of Vrindavan saw Akrura getting the chariot ready to take Krishna to Mathura. That evening, before his planned departure, Srila Prabhupada was lying in his bed, and many of you have probably seen his bed in his house in Vrindavan. Bhakti Charu Swami was in the room, and Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, came to visit. Babaji Maharaj was a very advanced devotee. Srila Prabhupada said that he was a Paramahamsa. He was always engaged in Harinam, absorbed in Harinam, and he was always blissful. And he and Prabhupada had an extraordinarily affectionate relationship. So Bhakti Charu Swami thought, let me appeal to Babaji Maharaj. If he asks Prabhupada not to go, then Prabhupada may listen. So he brought Babaji Maharaj into another room and spoke with him there. Having heard what had transpired, Babaji Maharaj returned to Srila Prabhupada's bedside and told him, I don't think you should go on this parikrama. And when he heard this, Srila Prabhupada replied, if you feel that way, then I won't go. Just then, Tamal Krishna Goswami and Bhavananda Maharaj, who had been upstairs in what had previously been Prabhupada's bedroom, came back down in a very emotional state. Prabhupada was aware of what they were thinking, and he asked, so, you request me not to go? Tamal Krishna Goswami replied, Srila Prabhupada, we were getting so upset. 2 devotees told me that this road is so bad that if you go on this road, you're going to be jolted back and forth. The road is terrible. I just can't understand, Srila Prabhupada, why it has to be tomorrow that we have to go. If anybody wants you to travel, I do. But why do we have to go when you're in this condition? I can't understand it. All right, Srila Prabhupada said, I will not go. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, Bhavananda said. I was in too much anxiety. No, I cannot put you in anxiety. I shall do what you like. My left hand and my right hand, I cannot refuse. Tamal Krishna said, actually, Srila Prabhupada, we're so attached to you that you practically drive us to madness sometime. Tonight we were becoming mad. No, I shall not do that, Prabhupada assured them. All right, he said, agreeing that he would not go. Then Prabhupada turned to Babaji Maharaj and said, just see how much they love me. Srila Prabhupada, Tamal Krishna said, the way you deal with us simply deepens our attachment every moment. And Srila Prabhupada replied, it is my duty. He was saying duty, but he had a professor at Scottish Churches College or Scottish Teachers College, I think Scottish Churches College, that used to pronounce it duty, like Juti. But this is a very significant statement. Prabhupada replied, it is my duty, meaning to deepen our attachment to him and through him to Krishna. For the devotees in the room, it was a jubilant occasion that Prabhupada had agreed to wait. As Tamal Krishna Goswami had said, we will take you on Tirtha Yatra to all the places. Just get a little stronger. But when the news reached the other group, they were upset. This is not our duty as disciples to try to prevail upon our spiritual master. Our duty is to execute his will. He said that he wants to go by bullock cart to Govardhan. And our duty is to arrange for what he wants. Our duty is not to advise him or prevail upon him according to our perception. The controversy continued until the end, the anniversary of which is tomorrow in America, but it's already Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day in India. Srila Prabhupada spent his last 3 days with his disciples at Krishna Balaram Mandir, and the last day he did not speak. His only words were in the morning when the Kaviraj asked him to drink some juice, and he replied, Meri kuch ni icha nahi. I have no desire. After that, Prabhupada didn't speak. He was in a completely internal state of consciousness, and the devotees surrounded him with kirtan. For the last few hours in the afternoon, the leaders opened up the doors for everyone, young, old, children, men, women. All were allowed to be in the room with him and to reciprocate love with him. I was at the head of Srila Prabhupada's bed, and I had a desire to render one last personal service to his Vapu form, but it seemed impossible. But then suddenly, Srila Prabhupada threw his arm back to just where I was, and I got to massage his hand for a little bit before he left. Then at about 7:26 p.m., his tongue and mouth moved, Hare Krishna, it was hardly audible, but he said, Hare Krishna, and he left. As for the controversy, it continued. The feeling still ran strong on both sides, even after Prabhupada left. And I couldn't determine who was right. There were devotees senior to me on both sides, devotees whom I respected and had served. Personally, I was closer to some of the ones engaged in Srila Prabhupada's personal service, such as Tamal Krishna Goswami and Bhakti True Swami and Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami, who was Swarup Damodar Das Brahmachari then. But still, I wasn't sure who was actually right, and it was on my mind. It was my habit or practice to chant japa in Srila Prabhupada's rooms when he wasn't there. And after he departed, I did that. I was in his room chanting japa, and behind his bed was an area with his bookshelves. Somehow I found a little corner there and was chanting japa, when my eyes fell upon the new volume of Srimad Bhagavatam that had just arrived, the 10th canto, volume 2. It had been delivered into Srila Prabhupada's hands in his last days. When the devotees had presented the book to Prabhupada and he was looking at the pictures, everyone could see the love in his eyes. Tamal Krishna Goswami had even remarked how much love for Krishna Prabhupada has, as was evident just from the way he had been looking at the pictures of Krishna. So I saw that volume. It had gold embossing, especially made for Srila Prabhupada. I opened it up, and it happened to open to chapter 9, Mother Yashoda binds Krishna. I read a few verses and purports, and then I came to a verse that to me answered the question. And I will read those verses and purports. And as you know, we are in the month of Damodar now, and we were in the month of Damodar then, when Srila Prabhupada left. So this is 10.9.19. Evam sandarshita yanga harina brichavasyata swavasane pikrishnena vasyedam seshvaram vase. Translation. O Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe, with its great exalted demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Indra, is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet the Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime. And the pastime was encapsulated in the previous verse. Swamatu Svinagatraya Vishrasta Kabarashraja Dristra Parishramam Krishna Kripa Yasit Sabandane. Translation. Because of Mother Yashoda's hard labor, her whole body became covered with perspiration, and the flowers and comb were falling from her hair. When child Krishna saw his mother thus fatigued, he became merciful to her and agreed to be bound. So when I read these verses, I thought, this is what happened. The spiritual master is the transparent medium through which Krishna manifests himself. Of course, in Vraja Bhakti, the relationship with Krishna is different. In Vraja, Krishna exhibits Nar Lila, human-like pastimes, in which there is complete intimacy and freedom between the devotees and the Lord. But in the relationship between the disciples and the spiritual master, there's always an element of awe and reverence and duty. But still, our performing our duties is meant to lead us to developing love. And Srila Prabhupada did say to Babaji Maharaj, just see how much they love me. 1 month earlier, there had been another incident. Srila Prabhupada had stopped drinking. Previously, he had said that when his father had wanted to leave his body, he had stopped drinking, and that this was a bona fide way to give up one's body when the time came. Prabhupada didn't make any announcement or anything, he just stopped drinking. Upendra Das, a very sweet devotee who was serving as Srila Prabhupada's personal assistant, innocently said to him, Prabhupada, you have to drink. If you don't drink, you will become dehydrated. And Prabhupada said, oh, you want me to drink? Call the GBC. That decision, whether Prabhupada should drink or not, was no small matter. So Abhiram informed the GBC, and the GBC and senior devotees came into the room. Prabhupada said, if I want to survive, of course, I'll have to take something. But my survival means so many inconveniences. Therefore, I have decided to die peacefully. Everything is in the hands of Krishna, Tamal Krishna Goswami said. And that had been the mood coming from Srila Prabhupada. Everything depends on Krishna. Many times, Prabhupada had said that he would accept whatever Krishna desired. If Krishna allowed him to stay, he would stay. And if Krishna wanted him to go, he would go. Previously, a disciple had asked him, you said that your Guru Maharaj left early because he was disgusted. Is that the case with you? And Srila Prabhupada had replied, no. If Krishna allows me to stay in your association, I will be very happy to stay in your association. Now, however, Srila Prabhupada opened his eyes and said, now remember, this is after Tamal Krishna Goswami said everything is in the hands of Krishna. So Prabhupada opened his eyes and said, Krishna wants me to do as I like. The choice is mine. He has given me full freedom. This was a different mood, a completely different answer, and it gave and gives us a glimpse into the intimate reciprocation between Krishna and Prabhupada. So we all went out into the anteroom and discussed. Kirtanananda Swami's point was most clear and lucid and intelligent. If Krishna has given Prabhupada the choice, he said, and if Prabhupada is giving us the choice, then we should ask Prabhupada to stay. And everyone agreed, yes, we should ask him to stay. Then one devotee said, but all the GBC men are not here. And Brahmananda reported, come on, what GBC is going to say that they don't want Prabhupada to stay? So it was decided unanimously We would go back into Srila Prabhupada's room and tell him that we wanted him to stay. Kirtanananda Swami would be the spokesman. When we went back in the room, Prabhupada was lying quietly on his bed. As soon as we finished offering obeisances, Kirtanananda broke down and started sobbing. He couldn't speak. Brahmananda, sitting behind him, rubbed his back to soothe him. Then Kirtanananda managed, Srila Prabhupada, if Krishna has given you the choice, then don't go. We need you. Srila Prabhupada asked, is this your joint opinion? Have you discussed? Yes, we have all met together. We want you to remain and lead this movement and finish the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada was silent for what seemed like an eternity. Then he yawned and said, all right, just like that. He agreed to stay in such a nonchalant way. All the devotees were jubilant. Within ourselves, we were rejoicing. Prabhupada is going to stay. Prabhupada is going to stay. He's not going to leave us. He's going to finish Srimad Bhagavatam. He's going to lead the movement. And Prabhupada said, this is real affection. So when I read this verse from the 10th canto, I thought of these two incidents and put them together. In both cases, when the disciples had expressed themselves, we want you to stay, we want you to get healthy, Prabhupada had said, this is real love. Just see how much they love me. All the disciples in the controversy about the parikrama were acting on the basis of their realization of their devotion for Srila Prabhupada. But I believe that what Prabhupada really was doing was drawing out our loving sentiments beyond us just following the order. Following the order is a given. There's no question. We have to follow the order of the spiritual master. To disobey the order of the spiritual master is an offense against the holy name. It is a basic principle of spiritual life. So we're not talking about disobeying the order of the spiritual master. We're talking about developing loving feelings for the spiritual master and expressing them to him. When Srila Prabhupada brought us to that stage in those two incidents, he commented, this is real love. Just see how much they love me. Relating the verse from the 10th canto to what Srila Prabhupada did with us, I also saw a parallel between the Damodar Lila and that principle of spontaneous love. Every night during the month of Damodar, as you know, we recite the Damodar Astaka, including verse 3. Iti driksa lilabir ananda kunde swagosham nimanchan. I'm not remembering the tune now. Oh yeah. Iti driksa lilabir ananda kunde swagosham nimajantam akayapayantam tadyeshi tagyeshu bhaktair jitatvam Puna prematastam satavritti vande. By such pastimes, Krishna is drowning the inhabitants of Gokul in pools of ecstasy and revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. To this Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, whose belly is bound not with ropes, but with his devotees' pure love, I offer my humble obeisances. The Damodar Lila shows pure, spontaneous love's special power to conquer the Lord. The Lord comes under the control of such pure love. In the same way, Srila Prabhupada, not exactly that he came under the control of our love, but I would say that he brought that love out from deep within the recesses of our hearts. And then he reciprocated with us by coming under our control or agreeing to our requests. So this is a very deep pastime of Srila Prabhupada's. Among the disciples who were around him at the end, it was understood that as the perfect Acharya, he had taught us by his own example how to live in Krishna consciousness. And now he was teaching us how to die in Krishna consciousness. That was the general idea in those months and weeks, that he was showing us how to retire to a holy place and how to be absorbed in hearing the holy names of the Lord. And how up until the end, even in his delicate condition, he was trying to push forward the mission and was translating and dictating purports to Srimad Bhagavatam up until the very end. And there's a beautiful picture, a wonderful picture of Srila Prabhupada lying on his bed, and His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami is there, and Pradumya Prabhu is there. They're holding the microphone to the dictaphone to his mouth, and practically to the very end, he was translating and dictating his purports to Srimad Bhagavatam. And within this final lesson, he brought us to this more intimate level exchange where we could express to him our heart's deepest desires, even in spite of the barriers that I would say he deliberately put up. He deliberately put up the barriers, but then he inspired us to break through them, to reach out to him and express our love for him and ask him to stay with us. And in, I guess, the few minutes we have left, I will relate one exchange I had with Srila Prabhupada 3 days before he left. I was sleeping on the terrace of the Gurukul building, and in the middle of the night, someone woke me up and said, "Prabhupada is calling for you." And at that time, Srila Prabhupada's condition was so delicate, we thought, any moment could be the end, or any statement could be his last words. So I went down into his room, and he was lying on his bed. It was very quiet and quite dark. There's a dim light. And Srila Prabhupada asked me, "So after I leave, do you think this movement will go on?" And I replied, "Yes, if the devotees are sincere and they chant their rounds and follow the regulative principles, it will go on." And Srila Prabhupada was silent for a moment. And then he said, organization and intelligence. And then Srila Prabhupada said, "Is there anything else?" Meaning, is there anything else you would like to say? And within my heart, I was like screaming to ask Srila Prabhupada, don't leave, stay with us, don't leave. But I couldn't come out with it. So when Prabhupada said, is there anything else? So I said, no, Srila Prabhupada. And then I offered obeisances and left. But I thought about what Srila Prabhupada told me, like his last, I think, personal instruction to me. Organization, intelligence and organization. I mean, obviously, the devotees have to be sincere and chant their rounds and follow the regulated principles. But that's, in a way, depending on the context, but in a way that could just be for our own personal purification and advancement. But if we really want to spread Krishna consciousness, which was Srila Prabhupada's mood, then we need organization and intelligence. So, yeah, quite deep. Yeah, I'm not sure what more to say now. I guess, yeah, I can add one more point, which is about wanting Srila Prabhupada to stay. That even though Srila Prabhupada has now left us, means left that body, we still have that choice whether we want him to stay with us or not. At that time, although we had been going along in the mood that whatever Krishna wanted was all right, when we understood what really should have been in our hearts, that we wanted him to stay, we thought, maybe we want to be the controllers. Maybe we want to be the enjoyers. Like, why would we not want Prabhupada to stay? Well, yeah. So we were like thinking, what prevented us from expressing that idea that we want you to stay? Please don't go. So we thought, maybe we want to be the controllers. Maybe we want to be the enjoyers. So there's always that question. Do we want the kingdom of God without God, or without God's representative? Or do we want the kingdom of God, with his representative, with us as their humble servants? So on this occasion, I pray to Srila Prabhupada that I will always remember this lesson and always pray and act in such a way that he will be pleased to stay with each of us individually and with all of us collectively, and bind us to his lotus feet eternally. So, Hare Krishna, our organizer, Yashoda Dulal Prabhu, has suggested I don't take questions because, we're in a certain mood now from hearing about Srila Prabhupada's final pastimes, and he didn't want the mood to be broken with maybe different kinds of questions. So, but we still have 5 minutes. So, Yashoda Dulal Prabhu, what shall we do in our remaining? I would like to hear His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami speak, but I don't want to put him on the spot with this sudden, spontaneous request.
Well, I'm just appreciating how deeply you've thought about Srila Prabhupada's last activities, his last dealings with us. Um, if I were to add anything, maybe I'd just say how intense that those two sides were lined up against one another. And people were like, if they'd had bricks in their hands, they would have thrown them. You know, you don't love Prabhupada, you want him to die. You don't have faith in his order. You know, it was like so intense. It was just at such a high pitch, and maybe that's all I'd add.
Yeah, that was a good addition. Yeah, it was very heavy. The feelings were running very strong. And there was so much at stake. You know? Yeah. And personally, I was hoping that after Prabhupada left, it would quiet down, but it didn't. The same people held on to the same views and were accusing the other side of the same misbehavior, so to speak. It continued. And it was hard because I really did respect people on both sides of the controversy. But yeah, but for my own satisfaction, I got the answer from my reading of 10th Canto, how Krishna came under the control of his devotees' love. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for taking us down that road and reminding us that Srila Prabhupada is here and it's up to us to let him go from our lives or not. And he's always with us and he's always asking us, okay, do you want me to stay? And it's every day is the question. And that was so powerful because he's with us. He wants us to be how Krishna wants us to be. And that's astounding the more we think about it. And thank you so much for reminding us of that. And you know, we really appreciate on behalf of all the devotees here in New Jersey, as well as all the global devotees who have joined. We really appreciate you, you know, soaking our hearts with this tremendous nectar, and we hope that we can be moved enough to do something about it, to improve ourselves, to do something a little bit more for Srila Prabhupada than we're already doing. And why shouldn't we? Because Srila Prabhupada does empower us, and that we have seen day after day. So thank you once again, Maharaj. And we look forward to hearing from you again and again. And we look forward to seeing all the devotees who joined this evening again and again on this channel. So I'd like to request all the devotees to please hang on just for another few moments as we make our regular announcements. And then we'll open it up so all of you can offer a quick greeting of thanks to Maharaj. So we have a regular announcement. Now, some devotees have been asking me, what is this building that's behind your head on this as your background? And I just wanted to share that this is a new temple that we've been building. It's a project that's been going on for a number of years. And this photograph was just taken this afternoon. So ISKCON Parsippany is in New Jersey, just 26 miles away from New York City. And it's a brand new Vedic style temple and it's under construction. You can see the walls coming up. And so, you know, that's what it is. So this is it's an offering to Srila Prabhupada, and we hope that around this time next year that we'll be moving in from our Towaco center to this grand temple. So please say a small prayer for us. Please give us your good wishes that we can complete this and offer it to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. And there it is. Oh yeah, this is a quick little image. Video image. So as you can see, the walls have been come up and there's a little elevator shaft, and anyway, we're making some good progress and we've had a lot of devotees come forward, give some good amount of funds. So thank you for all the support that you've given us. The Prabhupada nectar flow continues on this channel. So today His Holiness Giriraja Swami Maharaj opened the treasure house, and we will continue to drink from this reservoir. Tomorrow, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj will lead us into further pastime Srila Prabhupada and further appreciations. And on Thursday, His Grace Shruta Kirti Prabhu will be again bringing us full circle back to Srila Prabhupada's divine pastime. So please join us every day. We do have programs here pretty much every day, Monday through Friday, except for Saturdays. And so on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Swami Maharaj will, he gives dynamic classes on second canto Srimad Bhagavatam. And on Sunday, we'll have His Grace Gauranga Prabhu. So please do join on this channel, same time, same place. And now I'd like to request our temple president, His Grace Neelamani Prabhu, to offer a quick word of thanks, and then we'll open up to everybody else. Thank you, Neelamani Prabhu. Let's see.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for such a touching story. We could feel how you must have felt on those days close to Prabhupada's departure, and it was really heart-wrenching. And thank you. We could just imagine how much love Prabhupada had for his direct disciples, and how much that love inspired love from his disciples too. So thank you so much, Maharaj, for sharing that with us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This time, if you'd like, you may unmute yourself and offer a quick Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Hare
Hari Bol.
Krishna.
Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you so much. Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Go. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, dear Maharaj. Please accept our humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai
Hare
Srila
Krishna.
Prabhupada.
Hari Bol.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Swami Maharaj ki jai.
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 Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.